I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Guys, welcome back to Oops the Podcast. I am Giulio. You know me. Hopefully you love me. I'm sitting with old Francisco.
Boy, that's a lot of, you're asking for a lot of credit right up front there.
Hopefully you know him and you love him.
There we go. Even that puppy out.
How about this?
Need that bread to have smooch on both sides.
Let's double down. It's going to be a big year for Oops.
Is that right?
Yes, we need your help.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do this together. The Oops Mothership.
Knock on some doors, grassroots.
Yes, go knock on some doors Sunday afternoon.
Think of spreading the good word of this podcast in the same way that Barack Obama was elected to the Senate.
Grassroots, baby.
Yeah, just a very door-to-door process.
Dude, speaking of door-to-door, per our breaking and entering conversation, somebody told me something interesting.
Okay.
If someone breaks in your house and you shoot them and kill them, the first thing you're supposed to do is piss yourself, because it will show in court that that is not something that you're like capable of doing. Therefore, it had to have been self-defense.
That is so dumb.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told. It doesn't sound that dumb.
But what happens if you know, are you really, is it the case that you know, well, imagine if every person who shoots and murders their home breaker immediately is like, hi, 911, I've had someone enter my home, they're dead, oh, and by the way, my pants are soaked. You know, is it just automatic? Like, I feel like if there were such a correlation and such a frequency of that happening, judges would catch on.
I like to think this is like a rare enough of a thing that there maybe is no catching on to be done. Not to mention, dude, you don't have to tell them on the phone. When they show up, you can have soiled pants still on. You hadn't even realized you had peed your pants.
Yeah, but what if the cop touches your pant leg and he's like, these are still warm. You just pissed, but that guy's body is cold. There's been a lot of time that happened between the pulling of the trigger and the peeing of the pants.
The pee wouldn't be warm, dude. There's no way. Like, you would have to be peeing your pants as they arrived for that to happen. You pee your pants earlier.
Depends on how warm they keep the apartment or the home. I don't know. You could be right about that.
Yeah,
Pee
be like, I'm
does
sorry.
get cold quickly.
Pee gets cold quickly. I'd be like, sorry, officer. Like, last time I checked, you were a police officer, not a forensic scientist.
That's right. Yeah.
I said that, Your Honor. You said that? Yeah. All right, good for you.
Damn.
Thanks,
dude.
Your Honor.
You've got this all figured out.
Imagine that. Thanks, Your Honor.
Imagine you pull the trigger and you're like, oh, shoot, I don't have to pee. You start chugging water, and then they nab you because they see that you've left all the bottles out. They're like, you chugged a bunch of water to pee your pants on purpose, didn't you? Guilty.
No, I just stay hydrated, Your Honor. Good
Yeah.
for you. Thanks, Your Honor. Dude, all right. So say that we kill this person who enters our home.
Here we go.
And
Good.
you and I end up in jail because of it. So a friend of mine, Teddy, who I believe you know, asked me this the other day. He goes, who would survive longer in jail, you or Francis? And I said, that's actually a really good question. And I think we might survive or not survive for very different reasons. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a really good one. I mean, I think about this one a lot too. I don't know the answer to this. I don't, because I don't really know what group I would fall in with.
Like, I could see your sort of like inner beast being unlocked once like too many people started fucking with you, and then you just becoming this like guy who could fight in jail like very quickly.
You don't learn how to fight except for by fighting.
Yeah.
And the people who have been in jail a long time are much better at fighting than I am.
But you're physically capable. It's the same way that like a guy who's 6'7" who can run the 40 and 9.9 or whatever the fucking time is. No, that's the 100.99. Whatever the 40 time is.
Very fast 100, yeah.
Whatever the 40 time is that it's impressive. Sure.
Anything under 5 seconds.
Deion Sanders, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're that guy, you're going to get drafted no matter what, even if you don't play football. So like I would argue it's the same thing. You have the prototype of a guy who is big enough and like athletic enough to fight, I think. With very minimal training, I think you'd become an effective fighter.
Yeah.
I think the thing that would kill you is not having access to adequate down pillows.
Yeah, or organic vegetables. I've heard that you should immediately sign up for the halal food options as soon as you get into jail, because automatically any of the food options that are, sort of religion specific are much better than whatever is served to the more general population.
Do you have to prove that you're Muslim?
No, I don't think so.
Like when you go to Mecca?
Because people convert in jail, and then they ask for those food options.
So you would have to convert to Islam.
I don't even think you'd have to. You could just say, I am a Muslim. I want halal food.
And they say, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But there was an article that came out recently about Rikers and how it has just devolved completely. It's been devolving for a long time, but there was a guy who was released for his own safety because the judge determined he made a plea. He made a plea that he was being recruited into these gangs, and these gangs were holding these like fight clubs in cells. The guards were doing nothing about it, and the judge agreed that the criminal sort of corrections system had failed him in terms of his own safety.
Wow.
And released him from prison.
Wow. That's crazy.
And this is an interactive article in the New York Times, such that as you scroll down, you come across these clips from security footage of these fight clubs that are happening in these cell blocks. And there is a guy who is the head prisoner, who makes people fight as initiations into his gang, and he's part of the Trinidadios, I think.
Okay.
And
that's a good name.
He's got like, flat screen TVs and multiple bins of food and snacks and all kinds of special privileges.
A cell phone?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the guards will say like, all right, everybody, it's rec time. Go outside and get outside. And he'll say, nah, we don't want to go outside right now. And none of the prisoners will be allowed to go outside.
Wow. That's crazy.
So the guards now defer to this guy.
That's
and it
not
is
good.
run along a gang system.
It's crazy that that's a thing that happens. And I mean, it makes sense, but it's still crazy.
Well, what this article said was that the prisons determined that they should sort of block cell blocks off based on gangs, so that you didn't have inter-gang fighting by having 2 or 3 different gangs in different, commingled cell blocks. But all that did was further entrench the gang hierarchy within each cell block.
And you're also sort of like bringing them together and allowing them to grow in their own power.
Yeah. It creates a legitimate sort of society and hierarchy of power, which the guards can do nothing about, basically. So
you've been reading a lot of Times these days.
This was just one article, but it was so fascinating.
But what about the old people?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. With the New York Times, I always am on my way to the crossword puzzle. And if an article catches my eye, I get into it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good policy. Dude, okay, so we're talking about, this reminded me of something that happened to me the other day. I was involved in what I think is a fairly intricate sort of drive-by scam.
Yeah.
So these people pull up on me in like a newer car, and it was like a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and it was like a family of people. So this guy's like, hey, my brother. And I turn around, I'm like, hey, what's up? He goes, can you come here? And I don't know why. I typically would have never gone there, but I did go there this time. So I walked over, and it's this guy in the driver's seat, not the driver's seat, in the passenger seat, the driver, and then the back window's being rolled down. It's this like woman who I think her kid might have been in the middle too, and then there's another person. So it was a family of people.
Big car.
Yeah, and they were sitting but fairly comfortably.
Yeah. And
the guy goes, my brother. He goes, are you Egyptian? And I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, where are you from? I was like, like So it doesn't matter. He goes, okay. He's like, listen, he's like, my brother, like, he starts saying like kind of foreign words that seem kind of like nurturing. And then he's like, my brother, like, I'm from Dubai. He's like, I left my wallet on top of my car and it fell off. And I just need like some money. Like, here, you can literally have this ring. It's for $800. Like, I'm like, dude, I have $5. Like, you can have it. And he's like, well, could we go to the ATM? And I was like, no, I'm sorry. And then I walked off. And I don't know if it's because I was just like in Iraq and everybody was like so earnest and honest seeming and shit that I like fell for that to begin with. That had to have been a scam, obviously.
Yeah.
10 times out of 10, right?
Are you really asking me?
I walked away.
You know it is.
I think it was, but it was such a good one that I'm not sure.
My wallet fell off the roof of my car.
And the driver guy didn't seem like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It seemed too much of a setup,
Flip it around, right? Let's say that for whatever reason, Giulio, you were in some place and you had your wallet on top of your car and it fell off. Would your solution be to then pull up to strangers with your whole family in your car, summon them over, and ask them if they would go to an ATM with you to withdraw money so that you could go wherever you need to go?
He said, yeah, it's such a lie. Like,
is that what you would do?
You can use Apple Pay at the gas station.
What would it take for you to ask for money from a stranger? What would you need to, think about what would need to have happened?
I know.
Think about that. To go to an ATM, not just $5.
Totally. So much.
I would need to be on the run.
But dude, not to mention,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, totally.
I would need to be on the run from law enforcement with no ability to use my credit cards, no wallet, no cell phone. I would need to be, I guess like finding a way to change my clothing so that people couldn't recognize me. You're talking about you've murdered somebody. That's what it would take.
Yeah. And not to mention, dude, every ATM works with Apple Pay too. He could have used his phone to take money out of the ATM.
You're absolutely right.
So yeah, I mean, but dude, it was a very good operation they were running there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give people $1. I can't remember the last time I gave someone $5.
Yeah.
Not to sound like a piece of shit. It's just like, people ask you for money all the time when you're walking down the street here. I do give it to them, but usually it's a small denomination of a bill as possible.
This is the thing, and I'm sure this happens in other cities, but in New York, what happens a lot is you get these people who try to be welcoming and engaging to you. They just want to start a conversation so that they can coax you into asking for money.
Which is why you can't even go up to people to start a conversation out of nowhere because they just think you're soliciting money.
And it's why people in New York, just period amen, do not even look at each other. There's no eye contact and there's no conversation. There's no hellos, because the second you've given them an inch, and it's people asking for money, but it's also clipboard people with causes.
Totally.
They use the same technique.
Totally. And dude, listen, Greenpeace signed up for it once. Good luck canceling your Greenpeace.
Yeah, holy smokes.
Holy smokes.
They take your parents' email addresses. You're on listservs for life. Now, what is your tactic, out of curiosity? Say you see somebody, you get off your subway car, you're walking, out of the place, and someone is looking at you and saying, hey, dude, hey. And you just instantly know they're going to ask you for money. What's your way of avoiding this?
This sounds like a solicitor for like some kind of cause, maybe.
I've had it where it wasn't even that.
It's just somebody
someone like, hey buddy, nice shoes. Like, I like your style, whatever.
Help me out, man.
Yeah. What's your method?
Okay. So if it's that guy who's like, come on, man, help me out. I say, no, sorry, man, not today. Or sorry. That's it.
But you say something.
Yeah, usually.
You don't just sort of veer away from them.
No,
ignore them completely?
I'll say sorry. And if it's a person who's like, do you care about starving children and wherever? I say yes. And they go, do you have 5 minutes? And I said, no, I'm sorry. I do care about that.
I used to, I think, say sorry, or smile. Give a wry smile. a wry smile. I would give that sort of a smile. Just, you know what I mean? Half mouth smile. A crescent moon out of the corner of my lips. Now,
a wry crescent moon.
I have been living here too long. I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I just act as though I have not even heard them. I'm sorry. Maybe that sounds cold and superior. It's not. I don't feel better than these people. I just can't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
I just walk around. And sometimes if I see them coming up, if I'm walking down the block and I see them, I might even cross the street.
Yeah, it depends what they're doing, but I definitely have an alert on for that. I've realized that sort of the art of avoiding conflict or confrontation can often be as simple as just not getting in close enough proximity to the people.
Do you know?
It's like in Zelda.
Yeah.
If you avoid the groups of monsters, you just don't have to fight them at all.
There you go. That's helpful.
I was so proud of myself when I heard what that sounded like in the clip, dude.
Listen, here's what you realize. If you walk past that person, right, and you feel bad because you haven't acknowledged them and they've been nice to you and you think, well, why didn't I do that? But then you turn around, they are now doing the exact same thing to the next person and the next person after that. And you realize that you don't matter to them. You don't matter at all.
Of course not. Of course not.
It's just a numbers game.
Yeah.
So that should make you not feel bad. It's very transactional.
I don't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
I just say I'm sorry. I just say sorry. And then I just keep going. I feel like that's perfectly fair. I'm being polite. I'm acknowledging your existence, but I'm not giving you anything today. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that's a good method. It's just the method that I
think that's fine.
That I've been using. I'm sure it will evolve.
Yeah. Different strokes.
Sure.
Different strokes.
Dude, I have a couple things that I can't believe I haven't brought up yet. So
excellent.
First one, this is funny. So I had a very strict no fitness classes with Hill Dog policy for many years. She's now joined the gym that I go to. And unfortunately, even though she can't experience Move with Molly, our favorite cardio sculpt class, we can still take cardio sculpt with another instructor. Anyway, so
wait, why can't
Move with Molly has moved on. She's moved with Molly on to another location that she'll hopefully be discussing soon.
Okay, all right.
So we can enjoy her incredible spirit and moves. But she's an incredible dude.
This whole thing is one of the weirdest.
She's my spirit animal whose body I want. I want her. I want her female body.
The amount of like strangeness, I just can't even fathom. It gets weirder and weirder every time this girl comes up.
I want her female body, meaning I want to be her, not I want her to do something.
You've
to her.
clarified enough times.
Okay, thanks.
I think we get it.
For anyone who missed
live
those
inside of her skin.
I would like, like holding a joystick.
Yeah.
All right, guys, time to kick our legs somehow above our head right now. Okay, but anyway, so this isn't even before we did cardio sculpt together. We were going to do our first class. It was a spinning class, and we had signed up for the class the previous day. The time to go to the class has come. It's upon us. And we end up getting into a fight, like a big fight. And it was stupid. It was a stupid fight. It was about really nothing. And it kind of, you know how it happens, kind of just boils over, ends up kind of with some high voices and shocking statements and nothing too bad. We're not too bad, but like it was for us a lot.
Yeah.
So we are now in a fight. She storms out the door to go to the spinning class. I still have to go to the spinning class because I've signed up and it's too close to the time without getting a little penalty for not showing up. I don't want to get the old penalty.
You don't want to slap on the wrist, no.
So I show up.
You are really slapping
That's
yourself
some good
hard.
slapping, huh?
Yeah.
So I show up to the spin class. I show up, but on the way over, I'm like, I don't want to bike next to her any longer. We had been arranged to be on bike 8 and 9. And I was like, I'm going to change my bike within the system to be on a different bike.
That is cold.
So that I don't have to sit next to her because we're in a fight.
That is a cold move.
So she's in there all early, getting ready on her little bike. I walk right past her to my new bike.
Damn.
And she goes, and she must be like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. When I get to my new bike that I had signed up for, I notice a water bottle on the water bottle holder of the new bike. So I looked at the dispatcher, the bike dispatcher guy, who's different than the instructor, and I said, excuse me, I think there's a mistake. Someone appears to be at my bike. And he goes, did you see where she went? And I'm like, she must have walked out or something. I'm not sure. He goes, okay. Obviously, Hill Dog can fully hear this whole thing. he walks back over and he's like, hey, listen, would you mind just like taking that bike instead? I think she's just gonna like, there's open bikes. Could you just go to that bike? Which is actually the bike that had originally been planned to be put at, which was next to Hill Dog. So she watched this whole thing go down, and now I end up on the bike that I was originally supposed to be on, which is just so embarrassing. I went through this whole thing to try to like avoid her and spite her, and now I'm just next to her again.
Yeah, you couldn't even go through with your cold shoulder.
And now
someone thawed your cold shoulder.
And now the joke is just on me. Now I just look like an idiot, and like she now is fully winning in the sort of tit for tat pettiness.
Yeah, but all of a sudden you've got a bike contest in front of you.
And now, which is super embarrassing, now you're like bobbing to music all angrily. It's like, there's some hoes in this house, and you're fucking bouncing. It's just like so unpleasant, dude. It was so shitty.
So did you not speak the whole class?
Didn't speak the whole class. We then left the gym without speaking. I forgot which locker was mine, which is another terrible thing that happens in the gym. Now I'm going to every single one. And what I usually do is I'll spin the 2 left numbers, but I leave the 2 right numbers the same. So that just in case this happens, I see the 09 on the 2 right numbers, and I can line up. But what'll happen is sometimes other people might be looking for their locker too, and they put their code, which then throws off your thing.
Yes.
So if I have no idea where my thing is, now I'm looking on every single sort of cul-de-sac to try to find mine, and it's embarrassing because there's other people there, and you don't want them to notice. But then eventually one of them would be like, "Oh, that happens to me all the time." It's just, or they think you're like trying to steal people's shit. Yeah. So I'm just like, man, I'm taking L after L today.
Yeah,
dude. I'm such a fuck.
There is a little bit of, it's almost like God's way of saying, don't fight with your significant other. You know,
we didn't speak for the rest of the day.
Were you back at your apartment together?
Yeah. So it was one of the, so I actually had spots that night. So I left, and then when I came back, she was asleep, and then she actually happened to be going to the office the next day. So she left before I was up. And then I got up and we still hadn't spoken.
Oh, buddy, this makes me sad.
I know, but we didn't go that long. I ended up texting.
That is long.
And then we made up. It was fine, but it was long.
Is that long for you guys?
Yeah, that's potentially the longest we've ever gone.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a long. I mean, the amount of stewing there, you are slow braising a pork shoulder with that level of stewing. That's not just stewing, that's braising. I mean, that beef that you had, that's going to fall right off the bone.
Right off the bone.
That's coming off the bone with a spoon. You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, it did by the end.
Okay.
Nice to cool off a little. And we were in cardio sculpt together, which, by the way, unfortunately now moved with Molly, but with this guy who sounds like my Pillowface character. When we're walking out, he goes to Hillary, "Is this your boyfriend?"
Nah.
You know what's funny? I can't even do it. I'm like doing an impression of a thing that I can do, and for some reason I can't do it. Isn't that weird?
You had a really good one the other day. I watched it. I really liked it.
I appreciate it. But anyway, so he was like, "Oh, it's adorable." I was like, get out of here, dude.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Was the fight even worth it? Was it a topic that needed to be aired out? You don't have to tell us what it was.
No, not really.
Or was it something stupid?
It wasn't necessarily something stupid, but it wasn't for anything important. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like one person got annoyed by something legitimate, another person got annoyed by something legitimate. Those things began to build until it just became kind of nasty.
Yeah. Do you think that the fight was more a product of how you two were feeling about separate stuff, or was it sort of specific to, you two? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we'll get in fights simply because we're both hungry or we've both had a bad day, whatever.
There might have been a piece of that. I will say this. So that might have been a small factor. The fact that I was playing Zelda during the fight didn't help.
Oh, buddy.
Was Zelda called that stupid game at some point? Yes.
And that you took that personally?
No, I didn't necessarily take that personally. I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
It's not a stupid game. It's ranked the #1 game
all time. That didn't help. And then, there were small legitimate things that might not have been a big deal otherwise that then just like I said, kind of like added up to bringing it to a new level.
Here's something. I'm glad we're talking about fighting because there is so much to unpack with this. One thing that I've adopted is there's a character from the George Orwell book Animal Farm, which I'm sure you read in
I have not read it, but
middle school or anything like
I've
that.
never read it, but my dad is always sending me Orwell articles.
It's an
and stuff.
allegory for the Russian, revolution or whatever. And I think there's a character, it's the workhorse, Snowbell maybe, or Snowball, or he's meant to represent the working class of the Russian workers. And the farm takes advantage of him and runs him into the ground. But it's not Snowball. Snowball was one of the pigs. Boxer was the horse. Snowball was the bad pig, right? And then Napoleon was the good pig. Anyway, I think that's right. But his mantra, whenever he's being asked to do another thing and it's getting clear that this is not going well and that the pigs are taking advantage of him, his mantra, he just says it to himself and over, is Snowball is always right. Snowball is always right. And when I end a fight to clear it up with Sierra, I say out loud, Sierra is always right.
To yourself or to her?
Sort of out loud to myself and then also to her.
And do you find that to be the truth typically?
Yeah.
It's nice to have sort of a sample, like a sample collection of things that you can refer to sort of assess what the odds are as to whether or not you're right.
I'm very lucky in that if Sierra is wrong, we won't have a fight. I can point out and then she will say, oh, yeah, whoops, I was wrong. Or like, and it's, she's just mistaken or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it won't lead to a fight.
Right.
The only
You'll
time
let
we
her rip a
fight
little
is
more.
if I'm being
stubborn
and unrelenting. There are very few times where we're both theoretically right. And conceding to your significant other is a very good way of diffusing, even if you don't believe in it. It's just a good way to let someone else have a win without,
Yeah, totally. I'm open to it. And I would say I very much value Hill Dog's opinion, even her like amateur opinion sometimes. Like I'll show her something and I'll be like, what do you think about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, even if I'll never be like, she just doesn't know what she's talking about. You know what I mean? I'll be like, okay, I asked because I think she knows. Like she's honestly, like Stephen King always says, you need to have like that one person you can show everything to. And like, that's the person you get the best feedback from, whatever. She's that for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like,
do you run jokes by her?
Yeah. Everything, like jokes, everything, like video stuff, like edits. I'll be like, I don't, whatever. So, I respect her opinion. So therefore I think that I'm maybe more on the sort of side of I'm willing to admit that she's probably right a lot of the time than maybe most people are. I'm not suggesting that people don't think that about the people they're dating. So I don't know. But yes, in a fight situation, sometimes I can definitely get married to something that I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I can't really grasp how often I feel that I ended up being right or not.
But the truth is that when you're fighting with your significant other, neither of you are right.
But you might be.
But it doesn't. What do you gain by proving that? You're just opening a wound further and further.
True. So what if you looked at it like this though? Maybe it's not about needing to prove it, but like, here's this idea that I have on this. I feel that it's worth considering.
When have you been able to say it that diplomatically?
I've never been able to say it that diplomatically, but I've certainly left it at that. I think without actually saying that, but I'll be like, here's what I think about this. We might not agree, but this is still what I think. I respect your stance, maybe, or maybe I don't, but like, this is the way that I think about it.
And what happens then?
We can sort like there have been scenarios where we have been able to agree to disagree, and then we'll manage knowing that moving forward.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's healthy.
If it's a style thing, because it might not be a style thing.
If you're able to do that, then that's great.
Yeah.
It's funny. We had a a tiff. I wouldn't call it a fight. Wasn't quite a fight. It was a tiff. Last night, and I was supposed to come play ping pong with you.
Yes.
And I had said I'm on my way, and then the tiff started. And when you're in a tiff, I will say, I'm not trying to coach, but I will say that not giving the tiff your full attention is going to make them much more angry. And you playing Zelda while you're in a fight, I'm sure did not sit well.
The fight that was part of the ammunition that began the fight. So we were not yet in a fight.
Okay. Did you hit pause once things started escalating?
I stopped the game.
That's a relief.
Yeah.
I thought you were just like yelling out of the corner of your mouth, like "fuck you, bitch."
But I didn't hear. She had said something to me multiple times that I straight up just didn't even hear because I was playing the game.
Do you keep headphones on?
No,
You're
I was just
that
like,
plugged
I
in.
was very invested in it.
Yeah, okay.
So that definitely kind of helped escalate things. Anyway, sorry, back to your tiff.
Yeah, giving your full attention when tensions rise is a very important thing, because at the very least it makes the other person think, well, at least he understands that this matters.
Yeah.
At least he's prioritizing that we need to sort this out. Even if we're fighting, or even if that I disagree with what he's saying, or we have to have this out, he's respecting me enough to make eye contact and hopefully hear what I have to say. So we were having a tiff. I can't even remember what it was about. And I ended up losing time to this tiff and not being able to come play ping pong with you. And you texted me after about half an hour of me being late, and you're like, "You coming?" And
it was I think it was more like an hour.
It might have been an hour, yeah. And I had a thought of like, well, what do I say? Because I don't really want to share that the reason I was not able to come when I said I was going to come, which is that I was fighting with my significant other.
It's interesting.
But
you don't want to be unreliable. You're like,
I know,
what's worse?
And then I thought for a second, I was like, you know what? Of all the people I know, I think Julia would understand instantly if I just told him the truth. And I instantly told you, I was like, I'm sorry, Sierra and I had a disagreement.
You said something very funny, actually. You said a bit of a lover's quarrel.
Lover's quarrel, yeah. That's a tiff. I think that's a tiff. It's not a fight. It's a lover's quarrel.
Very funny.
We were having a quarrel, and that's another situation where it's like, I think I could not tell Sierra, can we put pause on this quarrel so that I can go play ping pong with Giulio?
Yeah.
Because that would have made things so much worse. I had to have it out to its conclusion. We had to get to a middle ground, a détente, if you will, before, and by the time we got to that place, I could no longer come to play ping pong because I had to go to a spot. But I knew you would understand if I just told you the truth.
Yeah.
Now there are times where it's like you want to protect your relationship, might lie and come up with something else, but then you're just sort of annoying the person you originally laid the plans with. If I was like, "Oh shoot, dude, sorry, I lost track of time,"
yeah,
be like, "What the fuck? Why'd you tell me you were coming to play ping pong?"
This is the other thing too about the lover's quarrel, about using that. It's like, I know that you like a nice sweaty activity. You know what I mean? A nice fun competition with the boys. Like, that's a fun thing for you. I know that. I played ping pong with you, tennis. Like, you have a very, very good time. I do too, but I noticed you're having a great time. You want to know how I know? Because you'll usually be like, "This is great." And I can tell you mean it.
I don't even notice myself doing that. But I do that a lot.
You do that.
I do that when I'm skiing too.
I can tell you're having fun.
By the way, I totally thought you were going to say, you want to know how I know? Because you're wearing your bird dogs. I thought that was I so thought that's where you were going with that.
But you probably are usually.
Yeah.
Right? Our favorite pants.
I typically wear them. You can wear them for anything. You can wear them for ping pong. You can wear them for sports, if that's what you're into. You could even wear them to an angry, smoldering cycling class where you're forced to sit next to your unresolved conflict.
Or a lover's quarrel that then leads to ping pong if you happen to get out of it in
And
time.
hopefully leads to those bird dogs coming off, because we all know that the best way to resolve and bury a hatchet is to figuratively bury thy hatchet. And make love, not war. So get your bird dogs. We love them. Birddogs.com, promo code OOPS. That'll get you a whistling football, we believe. That's where it's coming right for you. Birddogs.com, promo code OOPS. Get them today. Listen, fighting, do you think it's healthy? Do you think it can be healthy?
I think it's unhealthy to not, stick up for the things that you think. There has to be some kind of checks and balances. And it's like, if you don't agree with something, I think it's good to communicate. And I think fighting can be part of communication, which I think could ultimately make it healthy to a degree. If you fight too much, it's obviously bad.
Yeah. I have a far greater capacity for fighting than she does. She does not like to fight at all.
Interesting.
And would be much happier if there were never any fights.
Interesting.
Whereas I have this weird inclination that somehow it makes us stronger. And maybe I just tell myself that to justify it.
Could be true. It could be true.
Because it takes a lot to get her to rise to the bait.
I do think in friendships, like friends who like have fought tend to have like closer bonds sometimes.
We have never fought.
Yeah, I don't think we've like had little stuff. Like I wouldn't.
But it was never an issue. It was like one time you said, "Hey, dude, this thing happened. I'm not happy about it," and I was instantly apologetic, but also
you're right.
Explained
Not a fight.
why what had happened, and I think we were very quickly, instantly,
completely fine
over it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. I mean,
do you worry, given that we've never fought, what might happen if we did?
Like I worry about that in general.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Because you have had fights with your friends. You tell me about them.
Not often. When they happen, I hate it.
Yeah.
But it has happened.
We are willful people, you and I.
Yeah.
And I wonder, it's possible that our personalities do fit such that we are just. I tend to think that if you were really angry with me about something, I would not push back. I would probably roll over and let you have it. I really think that.
I sort of feel the same way in return as well. Like if you felt really strongly about something or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about like, hey, Giulio, I think we need to go down to like, we need to add a third episode of the podcast. I feel really strongly about that or something like that. I'm talking about like, Giulio, I don't like the fact that you are this way or, a shot.
Dude, I gotta be honest. I don't have fights like that much with anybody.
Really?
Yeah. Like I like things where things are said where you can't take them back. Like I don't really have any of that. I don't think I've ever really had one of those.
Well, that's good.
You're like this. You always do this. Like I don't do. I've never really done that. But
you have had fight. I'm talking about personal. You say something to someone that about them.
That's different.
That has bothered you.
To them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But like it came up from some like unusual circumstances where like I had no choice but to. Right? Do
the friendships that you've had where that's happened, do they benefit from it or does it set you back? Does it cool things?
It can be a setback, but it doesn't have to be. And I've seen examples of how it doesn't have to be. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this doesn't have to be such a big deal. And I have people who I'm close with who like, we've gotten into a fight where he's like, dude, are you fucking serious? You did this, this, and this. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Type of thing where like I was wrong. But to your point, sort of like fighting back and forth, like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it has to be, I don't think it has to happen necessarily.
You know, it's an interesting thing. I think that, you know, I think about that. I think about how our friendship now could withstand a fight because, well, for one, it would have to. We would have to get over
would
it.
have to,
The success of this podcast relies entirely on our chemistry and friendship.
Yeah.
We could not, I don't think, fake friendship across a whole episode.
Yeah, it would be hard.
I'm not a good enough. People would sense that something was amiss. Which would mean that in the space of, you know, at most, whatever, 3-6 days, we would have to sort it out. But I also think that we are professional enough where we would realize we cannot afford to be fighting and mad at each other about an issue because our jobs, you know, something about making money together forces you to work things out.
Hopefully, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like in theory, unless like, God forbid, you know, something insane happened. You know, but you're right. Like, I can't imagine many scenarios that would make me be like, I'm going to walk away from this money. Like, I need this, you know?
Or even skip an episode as a sign
or
of
even,
protest or something like that.
Totally.
Not walk away from the podcast entirely, but just be like, fuck you, do it yourself today.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know why I'm really thinking about all these things. I'm just, you know, I guess it's
uncomfortable.
Preparing for a rainy day, you know, contingency plan.
But I will say this, we communicate well. I don't think that if either of us don't like a thing in general, like to your point, like, oh, I don't want to do 3 episodes. I don't want to do 2 episodes. Like, we kind of are willing to like hear each other out. If one person feels really strongly about something, we'll be like, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
And like, we both kind of have our things that we care more about, maybe or not. I don't know. Like someone will bring up something and it'll be a thing where I'm like, I don't know, but like he feels really strongly about it. So I trust him.
Well, what's interesting is I would say the number one thing that we check each other on is stuff for the sake of saving the other person.
And that's not even checking.
If I've said something, you are the first person to be like, you know, that might get you in trouble with the people in your life. I don't care.
Right. No, totally.
You're not offended, but you're like, listen, dude, you sure you want that in? And that's just bro level that
shit.
Feels
though.
like that is someone having your back.
That's pee, dude.
On
That's pee. Friendship is pee.
Do you recall? I mean, it was probably like this was probably like our 2nd or 3rd episode ever of this podcast, where I think I told a joke or a story about like, I think it was a joke about running a train or something.
Yeah.
Somehow I was like somebody running a train or gang bang. I don't even know what it was. And you let it slide in the episode. And then after the episode, you texted me. You're like, hey, man, like, this is kind of weird, but, you know, I don't really love that type of humor. I don't think we should be talking about that. Like, I don't mean to overstep, whatever. You were very nice about it. And it fundamentally, I would say, changed the trajectory of the podcast.
You think so?
At a very early point.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I might have been overreacting about that, and I don't even know specifically what it was or whatever, but I remember feeling really bad texting that.
No.
Because I felt like, especially at that time, like this was all your idea.
Yeah, but that was you saying, I don't think we need to make these kinds of jokes in order to be successful. That's how I took it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very eye-opening moment for me.
Interesting.
Where it was like, you know what? I think we can be cleaner and we can be more respectful and, you know, not just sort of sink to the lowest common denominator and talk about, you know, graphic, over the top sexual stuff as so many podcasts often dip into. And I'm so glad that you had a lot of people, I feel like, would not have brought that up, and just, you know, and who knows, because then we might still, I don't know. I always think about that. And I was like, oh shit, you know, this guy really gives a shit and he's really listening. That was what I thought.
Oh, cool. I listen, I appreciate that. I think that I also don't want people to think that we wouldn't have ended up having the type of podcast that we do. Regardless of that moment, I think that we would have sort of figured those kind of things out on our own.
Yeah.
And I remember being like nervous a little bit. I was like, okay, like I don't want to.
Yeah, we didn't know each other that well yet.
No, not about you. I'm like, was that just like a misfire for me? Like, you know what I mean? When you make a stance like that, it can be a little nerve wracking. And it wasn't even me. Like I wanted it for like a topic of discussion. Like I wasn't like putting my foot down. I wanted to talk about it softly. Because even this is like making me uncomfortable.
It is weird. This doesn't feel like a conversation that should be had into the microphone.
I feel weird. I was not scolding you. It was a discussion, you know, and I'm glad you took what you did from it. I did mean it like that.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't realize specifically what I meant.
It was a good thing. It was a good thing to hear. But I you know, this is like a behind the scenes episode that we're doing now, which is, I don't know. I hope people find it interesting.
I think they will.
But yeah, that these are sort of, you know, I guess, you know, to the final point, I think I was, you know, the fighting stuff, especially with your significant other. I think it was Martin Short who wrote in his autobiography that I read, which was great, that he and his wife made a promise to each other never to go to bed angry. And that's something that's always never to go to bed angry with each other. Because there's something about lying next to someone in darkness where if there is simmering anger and there has been no effort made to find a kernel of peace, some white flag, it's hard to sleep. It seeps into your subconscious.
Yeah,
you wake up differently. You know, you should always, in my mind, try to find 1 yard back to the middle together. And even if that's rolling over and just kissing them on the cheek, whatever it is, something, but you know, I really believe that. I really believe that. It doesn't have to be a full fix. But I think that as a relationship piece is really important.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And I've had times where I'll have a dream that I've made up with the person that I go to bed in a fight with.
Yeah.
And regardless if it's a girlfriend or if it's like a friend who I'm in a fight with, like I'll have these dreams that we've made up. Waking up and realizing you haven't is terrible.
Yeah. 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 It's funny, dude. When you told that story of that fight, I was so hoping, you know what? This is how I thought it was going to go. I thought that when you went to that other bike and found the water bottle on it, that she had bought that water bottle for you.
Oh, I wish that would have been
as a way of sign of like, let's, you know, doing something nice for you.
Yeah, I wish.
I had hoped that was what it was, but instead you guys just pounded away on your pedals furiously in silence, and then still didn't make up till the next day, which just broke my heart. But I trust you guys. You're so strong. I'm not worried about it.
No, I don't think it's a red flag. I will say this, and this is funny. And tell me if you guys do this. When we fight afterward, we will like recap everything that we had been feeling while we weren't speaking to each other.
Ooh, I don't know that would help us. That might restart things.
Yeah.
Because you can find out things in that will cause you to kick it off again. No,
maybe, but it'll be more like I don't know. For example, she'll be like, I was sad that we went to bed and like that you had to leave after the fight, and then
that's fair.
And I'll be like, yeah, me too. Like
Yeah.
we'll both be saying our sort of our regretful thoughts.
Yeah, you're watching the game film of your
yes.
fight.
Yeah, exactly.
You're Peyton Manning up till 2 a.m, in the control room.
Which is funny because we're both like that. And in the past, when I've been in relationships and the person I was with wasn't like that, I would feel self-conscious when I would start doing the analytics, or like I would start to feel like I was being a loser or something. I don't know.
No, I think that's healthy. Hopefully that helps you learn. I am still not at the point. I've grown in my awareness of myself, but I'm still not at that level where while we're fighting, I'm able to say, to sort of say like, "Ooh, this is gonna suck later." Do you know what I mean?
Like if you say something that you shouldn't have.
Or to stop, to avoid saying the thing that, will cause the sadness to extend another hour or two.
Yeah.
And in the ideal world, you get so good at this that you end up not having the fight in the first place. Because you're able to, instead of like saying the incendiary thing or raising your voice, you're able to say, okay, let's stop for a second. This is how I feel, and this is how this is making me feel. I understand you disagree. Let's have a civil level discussion about it and find a solution.
You're good at that.
No, I'm not.
So
I'm getting better.
Maybe not with your with like a girlfriend. It's sort of like your most comfortable person that you communicate with. So you tend to maybe be able to get a little nasty. But I find like if there's ever like a difficult conversation to have, whether it's with like people that we're working with, or like you're very good at like approaching it in a way that is like diffusive. I don't know if that's even a word. I may have just made that word up.
Well, I think that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you diffuse it in a way where you're like, hey, like, this is what we think, and you can like be nice about it still in this way that I find impressive.
I find it so much easier to be that way in professional situations.
It absolutely is.
As opposed to matters of the heart.
Totally. But even if it is a matter of the heart, being able to ignore that impulse and do it in like a very overly professional way that kind of like maintains the sort of calm is undervalued. And I just think that you're good at that.
I appreciate it. I think all of it typically comes down to ego.
Yeah.
And if you're able to recognize that the people that the people around you whose hackles are rising as you watch the dog hackles start to rise, the fur stand on end, their tail go erect, their teeth bare. As you watch that start to happen, you say, well, this is because this person thinks they have the biggest dick in the room, and I will allow them to believe that because I don't care. It doesn't matter to me to prove to everyone that I've got the biggest teeth or the sharpest bite. Nobody's going to win from that.
Right.
You don't need to show force here. Because quite frankly, as soon as that person leaves the room, you can then turn to everyone else and be like, fuck that guy, right? And as long as you can see that 2 steps ahead, you're going to win everyone back to your side, So
You're like a dirty dog.
I don't know. That's more, I don't know, manipulative than I actually mean it to be. But, look, fighting, fascinating topic. I'm sorry. We could go on for hours about that, but.
It is good.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that's a good, nice deep dive, dude.
Yeah.
To disputes.
Yeah, we dove in.
What do you got coming up?
I'm in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey at Bananas Comedy Club, February 18th and 19th. And I'm at Gotham Comedy Club here right in New York City, April 8th and 9th. Get me on francisellis.com. Tickets, those are going to sell out.
Dude, real quick, I want to throw this in here. Put Bananas Comedy Club, Hasbrook Heights. I did it. I hosted. And I took the bus there. This must have been over 10 years ago.
Wow.
I took the bus there, not realizing that on a bus like that, there aren't designated stops. You just take the bus and you have to know where you're going. I had no idea where I was going. And I realized that we had passed Bananas by a lot. And I was like, and this is before Uber and stuff. And I told the bus driver, I was like, he's like, oh, that's way back there. I was like, oh my God, let me out. Now I'm running down the highway. I'm about to be late. I'm hosting this show. This is the first time they booked me. I'm running down the highway. I'm literally running across the highway, jumping over the metal thing.
Oh my God.
And then like continuing. I somehow get there on time, but I've sweat through my shirt completely. So I'm bathing underneath the hand dryer. I end up fully drying off, doing the show with like 30 seconds to spare. And as I thought I'd gotten away with it, some guy comes off at the end of the show. Some guy comes out of the room and looks at me and goes, "Was that you running down Route 17? And I was like, oh my God, never fucking forget that.
Love it. How about
Anyway,
you? Where can we
sorry
see
for
you?
throwing that in.
That's all right.
February 26th, Harpoon Harry, Panama City Beach,
Nice.
Florida. If you're in the
Classic.
Panhandle, come check me out. Going to be in Denver with Ricky Velez, 331 that weekend. Comedy Works. Come check that out. Hopefully adding some more stuff soon. Now I guess I'm going to say goodbye to you, Chris. Thank you. Goodbye.